Hi everyone, it is a pleasure to have Scott and Judy back on the podcast today, and we're going to be discussing A-level maths. So this is a course that will be starting in the end of the summer holidays in 2026, and we're really excited to be able to offer it. Can you both share a little bit about why you enjoy maths? Judy, would you like to go first?
Okay, so when I was at school, even at primary school, I think I really quite enjoyed maths. I think it just kind of came naturally to me. I guess it's just a skill that by God's grace I had. I think I quite liked how kind of clean and clear cut it is. It's either right or it's wrong. And when you've done a question and you've got it right, it's finished. It's not like English or history where you can elaborate and make it better. Um, so yeah, and I think I just like order in my life. Not that I always get it, and maths is got a lot of order in it.
Yeah. Scott, what about you?
Yeah, I think on a similar vein, I think I enjoy the solving side of maths. Yeah, it teaches you how to think logically, and then there's something very satisfying about when you solve a problem. Yeah, the satisfaction of that. And I think as a teacher, I've loved helping others to understand maths, and then when they get that kind of light bulb moment, that can be very satisfying as well. And I think just more generally, it just shows God's design. Yeah, He's made maths as a language, and the real world works according to maths as well. So that's really interesting. Yeah.
I think the risk of sounding quite proud. I think I remember when like it's in school and at university, feeling like quite like it's like a superpower being solving some maths problem that's really technical and difficult, working through it, having this beautiful page of
Mhm.
calculus or algebra or whatever, and it being correct was just an absolutely glorious feeling, which really fed into my love of maths, particularly as a teenager. Um, why do you think A-level maths in particular is such a great subject to take for a teenager? Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there's some practical reasons why it's a good subject. So, there's some university courses where you won't get into them without maths,
Mhm.
and some careers, they just require maths, like, STEM or finance and so on. I'd say if someone's studying, the sciences like chemistry or physics, doing maths A level also helps because there's such an overlap. So when I did chemistry and physics A levels, I'd done maths as well, and there's just such an overlap there. It
Mhm.
really helps. And yeah, just similar to what I'd said in the previous question, it just teaches you how to think logically. And in real life, you're going to have new problems, and having the skill to be able to think through them,
Mhm.
yeah, is a good life skill to have.
Yeah. Judy, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, no, I think pretty much what Scott has said is true, isn't it? There's some subjects that are just going to say you need maths if you want to go into engineering or you want to go into computer science. It's almost a must.
Hmm.
But then it's just even if you're not going to go into those areas, it's gonna develop your brain and help you analyze, help you problem solve. And it looks good on your CV. I think an employer just kind of know what kind of person you are, it gives them a greater confidence in you, your ability to problem solve, and it's going to open doors in that sense. Yeah.
Hmm. Absolutely. It is one of these kind of gold standard qualifications to have on your CV, even if you're not doing a maths subject to university or a career, it does stand out to employers and to university admissions boards. When my eldest daughter was looking at universities, we went and visited. She was applying for mathematical physics, so obviously maths she needed it, but it's in Scotland, so the requirement was higher maths, and we went and she was doing A-level maths. And the professor that was doing the open day for the physics department, he was so impressed that she was doing A-level maths and he was just keen that he was like, if she's doing A-level maths, absolutely, we would love to have her. She could maybe go into second, because in Scotland, university courses are 4 years. She could get into second year. So for Scottish students doing A-level maths or A-level instead of higher, you can actually get in to the second year, not the first year of university courses. And it stands out. It makes that CV or that UCAS application really pop for employers and admissions boards. Um, I would also say for home ed families that if you have a child who's sailed through IGCSE maths and they want to do A-level maths, this is maybe the time to outsource that if you've not outsourced IGCSE maths and they found it really easy to even self-teach. A-level maths is quite a jump. Is that fair to say, Scott?
Yeah, I would say there's a big jump in terms of workload, and yeah, definitely.
Have you found that as well, Judy? How they compare?
Um, yeah, I think that's the case. Yeah, and I, yeah, I think Scott's more qualified to say that as your got. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. It was something we just speaking to their families and seeing the jump from for my own daughter, she hardly came to me for the IGCSE maths. We went through it, she did the work, she did it, she did her past papers. It was fine. And then the first week of A-level maths, it was like, oh my goodness, this is the jump up is quite significant. So um it's something to really bear in mind for families thinking, can we just do it ourselves? And
yeah,
in my experience of speaking to families, most families, unless you are particularly gifted or the parents have a background in maths, it's probably a good one to be outsourcing. The A-level is a 2-year course split between 4 modules. So we're doing Cambridge IGCSE, the International GCSE with Cambridge. So there is an AS year with the exam at the end of that year, and then an A2 year with the final exam at the end of the A2 year. So the 2 modules for the AS year are going to be pure maths and mechanics. Judy, can you tell us a little bit about the pure maths module?
yeah. So we're going to be taking algebra really to the next level. So there's going to be quite a lot of algebra. We're looking at graphs and functions and geometry and trigonometry and series. And we're going to be learning skills that are actually used by like engineers and meteorologists and economists and do have real application.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's going to be a lot of number crunching, a lot of letters thrown in there. But yeah, if you've enjoyed algebra at GCSE, I hope you'll enjoy A level pure maths.
Yeah. Is there calculus?
Yeah, there's calculus, there's going to be differentiation, integration. Yeah.
And so the second module for the AS year is mechanics. Scott, can you tell us a little bit about that as you're going to be teaching that side of the course?
Yeah, so mechanics is essentially studying forces and motion. So things like maybe a car's acceleration or the velocity of an object when it's in free fall, under gravity. And I suppose it takes pure maths, like your calculus and your trigonometry, and then it just applies them to real life systems, like some of the examples I mentioned there. And I think for students, we need to have like a diagram first mentality where like you show your working out clearly and you label things. And yeah, my advice to students is that the diagram and the working out is for you to structure your thinking, but also for, the person who is reading it or ultimately the person marking your exam.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a great course. The mechanics module in that for any student who's doing engineering or well specifically like
Yeah.
mechanical engineering, civil engineering
yeah,
is going to be such a good module and obviously your physicists.
yeah,
It is like applied physics, the
yeah.
mechanics.
There's a lot of overlap definitely in those two subjects. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, although we're only doing the AS level this year, and next year we'll be doing the A2 level. The module we've said that the pure maths builds on the AS year, and then there's probability and statistics. What is the benefit of studying probability and statistics, Scott?
So one thing that I thought about was just how many misleading statistics there are out there today. So, maybe someone takes a poll of people voting and they find this and this and this, but we need to ask the questions of, how many people did they poll and did they just poll in one area? So I suppose unpacking the statistics that we hear on a daily basis and understanding how they work. I think it also is behind a lot of the science that we hear about. So a lot of, if maybe they're testing a new drug, and they say it is effective,
Hmm.
they'll then test if that's statistically significant. Is it just a fluke that it's being effective, or is it actually
Hmm.
something to do with the drug? So it has a lot of real life applications in all sorts of different courses as well.
It's also important to understand anyone that's doing any kind of science, they need to be able to run statistical analysis on their experimental results and understand how to apply statistics to a data set.
Yeah.
And so that again, you might not want to be going doing mathematics, but if you're doing anything to do with engineering, physics, even biology or chemistry, where you're going to have data, um, probability and statistics allows you to interpret that data well. Also, anyone that's going into finance, like economics, a lot of probability and statistics comes into financial markets and
Hmm.
the kind of thinking about actuarial
Yeah.
mathematics.
It's like
Um,
risk and pensions. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
So any of these kind of fields, having that understanding of probability and statistics is going to be really important. And if you go into university, they will throw you in a probability and statistics classroom, and this will be a really strong foundation for university. So yeah, I think is it fair to say probability and statistics tends to be the unpopular part of A-level maths?
Yeah, I mean, I think people get quite split over mechanics and statistics. A lot of teachers prefer one or the other.
Okay.
I personally quite like statistics,
Do
but
you?
yeah.
I greatly disliked it. What about you, Judy? Do you have an
No, I
opinion?
didn't like it, and I didn't do very much in my degree, but I actually regretted it when I then
Mhm,
got into the workplace that hadn't
mhm,
more, because I think it is really useful. Like businesses are using it, aren't they, to improve how they function and how they market. And then in the health sector, they've got to analyze huge amounts of data to
mhm.
improve things. And yeah, it was just yeah, I regretted doing not doing more because I just love the pure
Yeah.
at university. But yeah, it is quite a useful component because it's just out there and lots of things. And yeah, as Scott was saying, just to be able to analyze the data that's thrown at you as just a member of the general public,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of misleading information out there,
The
especially with all the fake news and stuff,
absolutely.
spurious health things that are going on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The interesting again, coming back just obviously most home educators were in England, A-level maths, if they're doing a further maths qualification after GCSE, it's going to be A-level maths. But for any Scottish students, we think higher maths is 1 year. It is an easier qualification to do than the full A level, but you're not getting that probability and statistics in higher maths. So I would any home educators in Scotland who are weighing up the pros and cons of doing a higher maths or A level maths, I would if your teenager wants to go into mathematics or sciences, I would really urge you to check out the A-level maths. It will give them a much better foundation for going into university for studying these things. First year university in mathematics, physics, um, engineering, they're going to have to do some probability and statistics. And if you've gone through the Scottish route, you do not have that's really new stuff. There's no probability and statistics in higher mathematics. And this course gives you such a good, strong foundation on those ideas in maths because it can be quite tough just going in cold in a university setting and having to do this. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, although I, I know that a lot of English students, this is what you'd have to do, the A-level maths, but in Scotland there is that choice. But I think there are places where A-level maths is such a good course. It really
Yeah.
does get you thinking and giving
Yeah.
you that great exposure to a lot of quite challenging mathematics.
Yeah, I studied at a Scottish university, and a lot of the first year modules were a recap of A level maths or A level further maths, but it was a recap of A level.
Yeah.
A lot of first year was.
My daughter, when she did first year mathematical physics at her university, they had one, it was like a 3 hour class every Monday in probability and statistics for the entire year. And it was a huge class because it was all the physicists, all the mathematicians, and the statisticians that were there too. And they were all having to do it. And it was, a lot of them found it really tough because they hadn't done any before. And it was a repeat of the A level probability and statistics stuff that she'd studied in A level. So she was in a really good place to be able to understand what was happening and what wasn't the most exciting class in her course. Yeah. Have you got anything else you'd like to share about A level maths?
Um,
Mm,
just yeah, be ready and willing to yeah work hard in your own time. I think as well. There is a lot of there's
mhm,
more independent study needed,
mhm.
is what I would say. That's just something that springs to mind.
Yeah. So yeah, how are we going to be teaching the A level maths at Arise? Judy, what about your pure maths?
Yeah, so we're going to be doing one class back to back. So is it with a little break in the middle? It's going to be a bit intense, and then yeah,
And Scott?
Yeah, so same structure, one day back to back, and I'll be doing the mechanics and then some of the pure maths revision content as well.
Yeah. So for the price of the A-level class, it's like double the amount of online teaching time that we would have with in opposed to like the IGCSE maths class. So you're getting double the interaction with the tutors online. But as mentioned, it's a content heavy class. It is a very rigorous course. And so there'll have to be that independent study and that personal responsibility to the learning as well to cover content and to revise and to work at the problems. So yeah, we're really excited to have this starting in August. So the other thing is it starts in the week beginning the 17th of August, not in September. So it's 2 weeks at the end of August as well, just to be aware that it starts a little bit earlier than our other Arise classes, just to give that extra time. So it's 32 weeks, not 30 weeks of live classes. So thank you so much, Scott and Judy, for your time. It's been a pleasure to have you on. And if there's any questions, please email us and we can pass those on to Judy or Scott.
thank you. Thanks, Emma.
Yeah, thank you very much.